Listen, I have been doing this job for 17 cycles. 17 cycles of diplomatic security on station orbits, colony platforms, and trade hubs, across 4 sectors. I have seen Kralathi warlords throw tantrums that cracked reinforced viewing ports. I have watched Villium smugglers try to bribe their way past quantum scanners with enough credits to buy a moon. I have even witnessed a Thrain ambassador literally explode from embarrassment during a formal dinner when someone mentioned his mating season mishap. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for what I saw that day on Transit Station Gamma 9 when we tried to arrest the human's roommate. My name is Vorak. I am a senior enforcement coordinator for the Galactic Compliance Bureau, which is basically a fancy way of saying I arrest people who break interstellar law. My partner, Keltis, thinks the title makes us sound more important than we actually are. She is probably right. Most of our work involves processing paperwork, checking shipping manifests, and occasionally chasing down some idiot who thought smuggling Zentari liquor across 3 jurisdictions was a brilliant financial plan. That morning started normal enough. Well, normal for Gamma 9, which processes about 40,000 beings from 200 species every rotation. The coffee substitute at the station cantina still tasted like recycled engine lubricant. The environmental systems were acting up again, making the entire processing level smell vaguely like burnt plastic and regret. Keltis was complaining about her ex-mate for the 8th time that week. Standard stuff. Then the arrest warrant came through. Target name was Xylinth Bar. A Cortaxian information broker wanted for data theft, identity fraud, and unlicensed consciousness upload schemes. Pretty serious charges, but routine for us. The file said she was living in shared quarters on level 17, section K. What made me pause was the notation at the bottom of the warrant. Roommate. Human female. Name Maya Cross. Occupation graduate student. Threat assessment. Minimal. Keltis snorted when she read it. Human? One of those weird primates from that death world? The ones who keep pets that could kill them? Apparently, I said, scrolling through the supplementary data. Says here she is studying quantum linguistics. No criminal record, no combat training listed, no enhancements, completely civilian. Should be easy then, famous last words. We brought a standard team. 4 operatives plus Keltis and myself. All of us armed with stun batons and neural disruptors. Standard non-lethal compliance gear. The plan was simple. Knock on the door, present the warrant, secure Xylinth, process her through intake, and be done before lunch. 20 minutes. Maximum. We took the lift to level 17. The residential sections on Gamma 9 are not exactly luxury accommodations. Narrow corridors with flickering lighting panels, the constant hum of life support systems behind the walls, and that particular smell that comes from having too many different species living in close proximity. Someone 3 doors down was cooking something that made my olfactory sensors burn. Unit K win ET-47. I checked the manifest again. Xylinth Var and Maya Cross confirmed residence. I signaled the team to position themselves. 2 by the door, 2 covering the hallway. Keltis and myself taking point. I activated the door chime. Nothing. I tried again. Still nothing. Protocol says we announce ourselves verbally after 2 failed chimes, so I did. Galactic Compliance Bureau. We have a warrant for the arrest of Xylinth Var. Open the door or we will override the lock. Silence for about 3 seconds. Then a voice came through the door speaker. Young, female, and distinctly human with that weird tonal quality their language has. Xylinth is not here right now. She went to the market level. Maybe come back later. I glanced at Keltis. She shrugged. Ma'am, I need you to open the door. We need to verify the premises and wait for the target to return. Yeah, that is not really going to work for me, the human said. And I swear, I could hear her chewing something. I am in the middle of studying for my thesis defense. Super important. Very busy. How about you leave a message and I will tell Xylinth you stopped by. One of the operatives behind me, a young Kravian named Tolmec, made a gesture that roughly translated to, "Is she serious?" I took a breath. Civilians always make things complicated. Miss Cross, I am authorized to override this lock. If you do not open the door in the next 10 seconds, we are coming in. This is your final warning. Okay, wow, that is super aggressive, the human replied. Did you guys have bad coffee this morning or something? Because I feel like there is a lot of unnecessary hostility happening right now. Keltis leaned toward me. Just breach it. We are wasting time. I nodded to Tolmec. He stepped forward with the manual override device. A universal key that can crack any standard residential lock in about 4 seconds. He pressed it against the access panel. The lights blinked green and the door began to slide open. That was when things went sideways. The door opened, maybe 15 centimeters. Just enough to create a gap. Then it stopped. Not because of a mechanical failure, but because the human had apparently braced something against it from the inside. Seriously, I called out, Miss Cross, you are now interfering with a lawful enforcement action. Step away from the door. Counteroffer, her voice came back, still weirdly casual. You guys back off, get a coffee, think about your life choices, and maybe reconsider this whole aggressive home invasion thing you have going on. Tolmec looked at me. I looked at Keltis. She made an exasperated gesture with her secondary arms. Breach protocol. I ordered. 2 of the operatives moved forward with a pneumatic ram. Standard procedure for resistant entry. They positioned the ram against the door seam, activated it, and the hydraulic system engaged with a satisfying hiss of pressure. The door flew inward. We entered fast. Standard sweep formation. 2 operatives went left. 2 went right. Keltis and I straight down the middle. The apartment was small. Combined living space, kitchenette, 2 sleeping alcoves, 1 refresher unit cluttered with the usual student debris, data tablets, clothing, empty food containers, and what looked like about 40 different beverages in various stages of consumption. And standing in the middle of it all, wearing an oversized shirt with some incomprehensible human text on it and holding a drinking vessel that said I studied linguistics and all I got was existential dread, was the human, Maya Cross. She was not particularly large by human standards. Maybe 1.7 meters tall, slim build, dark hair pulled back into some sort of functional knot. No visible weapons, no armor, no enhancements that I could detect. She looked completely, utterly, thoroughly unimpressed. So we're doing this then, she said, taking a sip from her cup. Cool. Just so you know, this is really bad timing because I have a seminar in like 3 hours, and I was really hoping to shower first, but I guess that is off the table now. Maya Cross? I said, keeping my neural disruptor trained on her center mass. You are not under arrest, but you need to comply with this enforcement action. Sit down, keep your hands visible, and answer our questions. Or what? She asked, and there was something in her tone. Not fear, not aggression, just curiosity, like she was genuinely interested in what we would do. Or we will restrain you for obstruction, Keltis said, moving to flank her. The human tilted her head slightly. Okay, see, here is the thing. Silent is my roommate. She is also my friend, and I happen to know for a fact that the charges against her are completely fabricated because she was helping me with my research the entire time period you have listed in your warrant. That is not for you to determine, I said. Now sit down, make me, she replied, and she smiled. Not a friendly smile, not a nervous smile, the kind of smile that in retrospect should have made me call for backup immediately. The kind of smile that said she knew something we did not. Tolmec moved first. He is a good operative, fast and trained. He reached for her arm to execute a basic compliance hold. What happened next took maybe 2 seconds, but I will remember it for the rest of my life. The human moved, not fast by galactic standards. Humans are not known for speed, but she moved with this weird fluid precision that was absolutely mesmerizing and completely terrifying at the same time. She shifted her weight, rotated her hips, and suddenly Tolmec was flying over her shoulder and crashing into the kitchenette with enough force to crack the countertop. Oh damn, the human said, looking at her hands. That actually worked. I have only practiced that in class. The other 3 operatives reacted immediately. They came at her from 3 different angles, weapons raised, fully intending to stun her into compliance. She grabbed the nearest one by the wrist, twisted, and used his own momentum to slam him face first into the wall. Then she ducked under the second operative's stun baton, drove her elbow into his thorax, and followed up with a knee strike that dropped him like a malfunctioning gravity generator. The third operative managed to get his neural disruptor aimed at her, but she was already moving. She kicked a chair across the floor. It hit his legs. He stumbled. She closed the distance in 3 steps, disarmed him with some sort of joint lock I have never seen before, and then tapped him on the temple with 2 fingers. He went down like someone had cut his power supply. 5 seconds. 5 seconds and 3 trained enforcement operatives were on the floor. Keltis and I both raised our weapons, but the human was already behind the overturned couch, using it as cover. Okay, seriously, can we just talk about this like reasonable beings? I really do not want to hurt anyone else. You just assaulted 3 Compliance Bureau operatives. Keltis shouted. They assaulted me first. The human shot back. I was literally just standing here drinking coffee. You guys came into my home uninvited, broke my door and tried to grab me. What was I supposed to do? Offer you snacks? I tried to get a clear shot, but she kept moving, using furniture and walls as obstacles. Every time I thought I had a firing solution, she was already somewhere else. Miss Cross, stop resisting. I ordered. Stop breaking into my apartment, she yelled back. Then she paused, and I heard her mutter. Okay, think. What would Dr. Ramirez say? De-escalate. Use your words. Be the bigger person. She stood up slowly, hands raised but not in surrender. More like she was trying to show she was not an immediate threat. Look, she said, and her voice had changed. Calmer now. More controlled. I get it. You have a job to do. You have a warrant. You think you are doing the right thing. But Silent is innocent, and I can prove it. I have data logs, communication records, everything. Just give me 5 minutes to show you. Keltis moved to flank her again. The human's eyes tracked the movement, and I saw her weight shift slightly, ready to move if she needed to. 5 minutes, I found myself saying. Keltis looked at me like I had grown a second head. Vorak, she just assaulted our team, and we broke into her home, I pointed out. Technically she has grounds for a self-defense claim. Besides, if she has evidence that contradicts the warrant, we need to review it. That is protocol. The human lowered her hand slightly. Thank you. Okay. My data tablet is over there on the desk. I am going to walk very slowly to get it. Please do not shoot me. She moved toward the desk, and I kept my disruptor trained on her the entire time. She picked up a standard civilian data tablet, tapped a few commands, and held it out. Here, she said. These are the timestamps from our research sessions. Camera feeds from the university archive. Communication logs. Everything that proves Xylinth was with me when your warrant says she was committing data theft. I took the tablet, keeping one eye on her. The data looked legitimate. Time-stamped video feeds showed both the human and Xylinth in what appeared to be an academic setting, working on some sort of linguistic analysis project. The dates matched the warrant exactly. This could be fabricated, Keltis said, but she sounded uncertain. Feel free to verify it with the university, the human said. I will wait. I have got nothing but time and apparently a destroyed door that someone is going to pay to fix. That was when the call came through on my communicator. Vorak, this is Central Command. We have a problem with Warrant Alpha 794. I activated the receiver. Go ahead, Command. The charges have been dropped. The original complainant recanted their statement. Apparently there was a misunderstanding. You need to stand down immediately. I closed my eyes. Of course this would happen now. Copy that, Command. Standing down, I looked at the human. She was standing there with her arms crossed, one eyebrow raised and that same insufferable smile on her face. So, she said, we good? So there we were. 3 of my operatives groaning on the floor of a tiny student apartment, one broken door hanging off its hinges, and a human female who had just single-handedly dismantled my entire team standing there asking if we were good. Good. That was a very interesting choice of words. You assaulted Compliance Bureau personnel, Keltis said, her voice tight with barely controlled anger. That is a serious crime regardless of the warrant status. The human, Maya, shrugged. Self-defense. You broke into my home. I felt threatened. Pretty straightforward if you ask me. Nobody asked you, Keltis snapped. I held up my hand. Enough. Miss Cross, technically you are correct about the self-defense claim, but this situation is still extremely problematic. We need to file an incident report, and there will likely be an inquiry. Cool, Maya said, walking over to check on Tolmec, who was still sitting dazed in the wreckage of her kitchenette. While you are doing that, maybe someone can explain why the Galactic Compliance Bureau does not bother to verify warrants before smashing into people's homes. Because from where I am standing, your organization has some serious procedural issues. She helped Tolmec to his feet with surprising gentleness given that she had just thrown him across the room. He stumbled back, looking at her like she was some kind of exotic predator. You okay? She asked him. Nothing broken? I tried to control the throw, but I have only been taking those classes for like 6 months, so my technique is probably terrible. Classes? I said. What classes? Krav Maga, she replied, like that was supposed to mean something. Human self-defense system. My instructor is this ex-military guy from Earth who moved here to retire. Nice guy. Makes terrible jokes. Anyway, he always said if someone comes at you, you respond with overwhelming force and then apologize later. Seems like solid advice. Keltis was staring at her. You learned to fight like that in 6 months? Well, I mean, humans are pretty good at violence, Maya said casually, helping the second operative to his feet. It is kind of our thing. We spent most of our evolutionary history figuring out creative ways to not get eaten by things with bigger teeth. And then we got really good at fighting each other over resources, territory, and increasingly abstract concepts. You pick up some skills. One of the operatives, civilian named Sardix, who had been face-planted into the wall, finally found his voice. You broke my beak. Maya winced. Oh man, I am so sorry about that. Does it hurt? Do you need medical attention? I have some ice packs in the cold storage unit if that helps. The absurdity of the situation was not lost on me. Here was this human offering ice to the operative she had just assaulted, and somehow it felt perfectly natural. I needed to regain control of this situation. Miss Cross, even if the warrant has been rescinded, we still need to document what happened here. You will need to come to the station to give a formal statement. Pass, she said immediately. Excuse me, I said. Pass, Maya repeated, walking over to a wall panel near the entrance. I am not going anywhere with you people. You have already proven you cannot be trusted to follow basic legal procedures. For all I know, this is some elaborate setup to arrest me for defending myself. That is not how this works, Keltis said. Oh really? Maya tapped the wall panel, and a small holographic display flickered to life. Because according to Galactic Civil Code Section 472, subsection B, I have the right to refuse voluntary cooperation with law enforcement if I have reasonable cause to believe my safety would be compromised, and I think getting my door smashed in and being attacked by 6 armed personnel counts as reasonable cause. I blinked. You know Galactic Civil Code? I am a linguistics student, she said. Do you have any idea how many legal texts I have to read for my research? I have probably analyzed more galactic legal documents than half your bureau. She tapped another command on the panel, and suddenly the display showed multiple video feeds. Security cameras. I felt my stomach drop. Also, Maya continued, her voice taking on a much colder edge, I should mention that this entire incident has been recorded on my personal security system. Multiple angles, full audio, time-stamped and automatically backed up to 3 separate encrypted servers. So if you are thinking about trying to spin this into something it was not, think again. Keltis stepped forward. You recorded us without consent? That is illegal surveillance. Actually no, Maya said, pulling up another legal text on the display. Galactic Privacy Act Section 291 explicitly states that individuals have the right to record any activity within their private residence without consent from visitors. It is right there. See? Paragraph 3. Would you like me to highlight it for you? The human was quoting legal code from memory while simultaneously offering ice packs to the people she had just beaten up. This was the strangest enforcement action of my entire career. I decided to try a different approach. Miss Cross, we are not your enemies here. There was a legitimate warrant. It has been rescinded, and now we need to follow proper procedure to close out the incident. If you cooperate, this will be much simpler for everyone involved. She considered this for a moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, I will cooperate on one condition. You are not in a position to negotiate conditions, Keltis said. Actually, I am, Maya replied, gesturing to the still recording cameras, because right now I have evidence of 6 armed personnel breaking into my home, physically assaulting me, and causing property damage. And I also have evidence of me defending myself using reasonable force. So either we work this out right here, right now, or I take this footage to every news outlet on this station and let them decide who was in the wrong. She had us. She absolutely had us. If that footage went public, the Compliance Bureau would be facing a diplomatic incident with Earth, multiple lawsuits, and a PR nightmare that would last for cycles. I sighed. What is your condition? I want all copies of this incident deleted from your official records, she said. Not sealed. Not classified. Deleted. As far as the Galactic Compliance Bureau is concerned, this never happened. That is obstruction of justice, Keltis protested. That is me protecting my future career prospects, Maya countered. I am applying for research positions across 6 sectors. If there is any record, even a false one, of me being involved in a Compliance Bureau incident, it could tank my applications. So the footage gets deleted, and in exchange I delete my copies, and we all pretend this was just a really awkward misunderstanding. I looked at Keltis. She looked furious, but she also knew Maya was right. This situation was a mess, and the cleanest solution was to make it disappear entirely. Fine, I said, but you have to delete your footage first. Maya smiled that same infuriating smile. Nice try. You delete yours first. I verify it is actually gone. Then I delete mine. I was not born yesterday. How do we know you will actually delete your copies? Keltis asked. You don't, Maya said simply. But I give you my word. And unlike some people who break into apartments on questionable warrants, I actually keep my promises. The barb hit home. I could see Keltis grinding her jaw, but she did not argue. There is one more problem, I said. My operatives. They were injured during this incident. There will be medical reports, witness statements. We cannot just erase those. Maya thought about this for a moment, then walked over to where Tolmec was still holding his head. Hey you. How much do you get paid for this job? Tolmec blinked at her in confusion. 42 credits per rotation. That is terrible, Maya said. You got thrown through a countertop for 42 credits a day. Seriously, you guys need to unionize. She turned back to me. Okay, here is what we do. Your people say they got injured during a training exercise. Happens all the time, right? Nobody questions it. They get their medical treatment, you file it as a workplace accident, and everybody moves on with their lives. You want us to file false reports? I said. I want you to use your creativity to solve a problem that you created, Maya replied. Look, I am trying to meet you halfway here. I could be a lot less cooperative. I could demand compensation for my door. I could file assault charges. I could make your lives extremely difficult, but I am not doing that because I understand you were just following orders, even if those orders were based on faulty information. So take the win and walk away. I exchanged a long look with Keltis. She made a gesture that roughly translated to, this is a terrible idea, but we do not have better options. All right, I said finally. We have an agreement. But I need to verify you actually have the authority to delete bureau records before I commit to anything. Maya pulled out her data tablet again and started typing. Your central database uses a quantum encrypted archive system, right? Model X74. How did she know that? That information is classified. It is also mentioned in 17 different technical manuals that are publicly available if you know where to look, she said. Still typing. The system has a known vulnerability in the temporal verification protocol. If you access it through the right back door, you can delete records without triggering the audit trail. Takes about 15 minutes if you know what you are doing. Keltis and I stared at her. Are you telling me you can hack Compliance Bureau databases? Keltis asked slowly. Hack is such an ugly word, Maya said. I prefer security research. It is technically legal as long as I do not actually exploit the vulnerabilities, which I have not. Until now, potentially. If we are doing this, this human was either the most dangerous civilian I had ever met or the most helpful criminal. Possibly both. You can really delete the records without leaving a trace, I asked. Without leaving a trace that anyone except a forensic specialist would notice, she corrected. And even then, they would have to know exactly what they were looking for and where. It is not perfect, but it is good enough that nobody is going to casually stumble across evidence that we had this conversation. I made a decision. Probably a terrible one, but after everything that had happened, terrible decisions seemed par for the course. Do it, I said. Maya's fingers flew across her tablet. I watched over her shoulder as she accessed systems that should have been completely secure, navigated through multiple layers of encryption, and pulled up our central incident database. She found the file for Warrant Alpha 794, along with all associated reports, logs, and data entries. Last chance to back out, she said, her finger hovering over the delete command. Do it, I repeated. She executed the command. The files disappeared. Then she did something else, some complicated series of commands that I did not fully understand, and suddenly it was like the entire incident had never existed in our system. There, she said. You are clean. Now I verify. She spent another 5 minutes checking the deletion, accessing our backup systems with disturbing ease, confirming that everything was gone. Finally she nodded. Okay, your end of the deal is complete. She held up her own tablet showing her security footage. Now for mine. She deleted the files. All of them. Then she showed me the deletion logs, the empty storage locations, everything. She had actually kept her word. We are done here, I said to my team. Let's move out. The operatives limped toward the door. Various injuries and bruises already starting to show. As we filed out, Maya called after us. "Hey, Vorak." I turned back. "Yes, for what it is worth, I think you are probably decent at your job when you are not breaking into innocent people's homes," she said. "Maybe next time check your facts a little more carefully before you bust down doors." "Noted," I said. Then, because I could not help myself, I asked, "Why did you really help us? You could have held that footage over our heads." Demanded all sorts of concessions. "Why let it go?" Maya shrugged. "Because I am a grad student, not a criminal. I just want to finish my degree and get a job that lets me pay off my student debt before I am 90. Blackmailing law enforcement is not really part of that plan. Also, you seemed genuinely surprised when you found out the warrant was bogus. That counts for something. You are a very unusual human," I said. "You have no idea," she replied with a grin. We left. The entire walk back to our shuttle, nobody said a word. We filed the injuries as a training accident, exactly as Maya had suggested. Nobody questioned it. Tolmec ended up with a concussion and a new respect for human combat capabilities. Sardix needed his beak reconstructed. The other two had various contusions and bruises that would heal in a few days. And me? I filed my report, closed out the case, and tried very hard not to think about how a single unarmed human graduate student had completely dismantled my team, hacked our databases, and then negotiated her way out of the situation with more skill than most trained diplomats. 3 weeks later, I saw Maya Cross again. She was at a station coffee shop, sitting with Xylanth and several other students, laughing about something on a data tablet. When she noticed me watching, she raised her cup in a mock salute. I nodded back and kept walking. Some people you arrest. Some people you negotiate with. And some people, the smart ones, you just leave alone. Maya Cross was definitely in that third category. And if anyone ever asks me about the incident in apartment K-1847, I have absolutely no idea what they are talking about, because officially it never happened.